Good morning, everybody. This is Carly with the National Weather Service in Peachtree City. Welcome to this week's weather briefing for the week of July 21st. We'll kick things off with this briefing looking at the current conditions. These are valid around 10 o'clock this morning. At the top left, you'll see the current regional radar, and it shows a couple showers across North Georgia. According to the observations that we look at, there's no evidence that these showers are reaching the ground. So at most, people would be feeling sprinkles up there, but looks like mainly virga. And looking at the top right, this is the satellite imagery, visible to be exact. You can see some mid-level clouds hanging around across North Georgia and kind of extending all the way into West Georgia into eastern Alabama. These have been decreasing over the last half an hour or so, and expect them to continue to do so. And that being said, we do expect the development of the low-level cumulus clouds to begin here shortly as well. Taking a look at the temperatures at the bottom, you could see, again, around 10 o'clock this morning, North Georgia was in the lower 80s, and southern Georgia was already in the mid to upper 80s. Looks like today could be pretty active across the forecast area. We are expecting scattered thunderstorms to develop this afternoon. The time frame is generally going to be between 1 o'clock this afternoon and lasting through about 10 o'clock. So this is what we've been seeing this past week, typical summertime pattern. Not to say that you won't see a storm pop up on radar before 1 o'clock, but really looking to get things fired up the middle portion of this afternoon and again continuing into this evening. And this is going to be for all of north and central Georgia today. The Storm Prediction Center has placed us in a marginal risk, and just so everybody's on the same page, a marginal risk indicates the potential for isolated severe weather, so we're not looking at anything widespread, so not everybody's going to see severe weather today. The main hazards for today is going to be frequent lightning, gusty winds, 40 to 60 miles an hour. In the strongest storms, wouldn't be surprised to see perhaps 70 miles an hour. But the atmosphere is extremely moist and unstable this morning. We're seeing surface-based Cape value forecasts up in the 4,500 joules per kilogram range, which is pretty impressive this time of year across the southeast. So with all that moisture in the air, when these thunderstorms collapse, all that heavy rain falls into the surface, and that's where we get those gusty winds. We're also expecting periods of very heavy rainfall. Again, I just said lots of moisture in the air. So that certainly means that we're going to get some heavy rain out of any thunderstorms that do develop. So that's going to bring about the potential for some minor flash flooding, particularly in the urban areas today. And not shown in this graphic, it does look like there also is going to be a hail risk for today, looking at pea to quarter size hail. The left-hand side of this image shows the simulated radar reflectivity valid around 4 o'clock this afternoon. And like I always try to emphasize, this is not to be taken verbatim. This is not exactly what the radar is going to look like at 4 o'clock this afternoon. But this is just to give you an idea of kind of what things might look like this afternoon. So mainly we look at this to get an idea of what kind of coverage of thunderstorms we're going to have. So again, this is showing you got some storms up in North Georgia and even down into central Georgia. So widely scattered across the entire forecast area this afternoon. And on the right-hand side, just showing you the high temperatures for today. Going to be another hot one. Probably don't even need to show this, you guys know. Looking at high temperatures to top off in the middle to upper 90s across most of the area, except in the mountains where we'll be in the upper 80s to lower 90s. Don't get too excited about this title, but you may notice slightly less humid air on Friday. So the main map on this page is just trying to show you the amount of moisture that's in the air. Those brighter blues indicate higher levels of moisture, and the pinks and purples indicate less moisture. So across the entire state of Georgia, kind of looks a little purpley pinkish, if you will. And that's something that we actually haven't seen in a good 7 to 10 days. So to us, that indicates that the atmosphere may be a little bit drier, and dew points are even expected to be a couple degrees lower, mostly in the upper 60s as compared to the lower to mid 70s that we've been seeing the past couple days. So like I said, it won't be extremely noticeable, but you may feel it a little bit tomorrow. That being said, I mean, unfortunately, high temperatures are still going to top off in the middle to upper 90s, as you can see in the other graphic. So with all of that heating, continued hot temperatures, we're still going to have the potential for a couple afternoon storms to pop up. So we're going to go ahead and carry about a 20% chance of some isolated activity developing across North Georgia tomorrow, and about a 30% chance of something popping up across South Georgia. Now, I would honestly sound like a broken record if I went through each day's forecast, because essentially it's going to be the same, so I'm just going to go ahead and group the weekend together, both Saturday and Sunday. This map here shows the large high pressure area in the middle to upper levels of the atmosphere that's just been stagnant over a good portion of the country this entire week. It's centered across the southern plains, but its influence extends west and east of it, and it does extend all the way into our area. So this is where the hot temperatures are coming from. So it's not going to go anywhere this weekend is what I'm getting at. So it's going to be continued hot and humid. So we're going to see that moisture begin to increase again this weekend. So in a nutshell, all areas are going to see high temperatures in the middle to upper 90s both Saturday and Sunday, low temperatures, low to mid 70s, and we're going to carry about a 20 to 30% chance everywhere that you could see an afternoon pop-up storm. Again, isolated severe with the strongest storms producing damaging wind, pea-sized hail, frequent lightning, and heavy rain, but really nothing to write home about. It's your typical summertime pattern. This slide essentially explains itself as we go into next week. When you've got sunshine, a lot of moisture in the atmosphere, high humidities, it's going to feel like soup out there. This is what we've got in the forecast Monday through next Wednesday. It doesn't matter where you're located, essentially the forecast is the same. You've got high temperatures each day climbing into the mid to upper 90s, carrying about anywhere from a 20 to 40% chance of some afternoon storms. Not shown here, low temperatures going to be in the low to mid 70s again, so there's nothing to really pinpoint forecast-wise. There's not one day that looks like it's going to have better storm coverage than another day, or one day that's going to be hotter than another day. It's, again, your typical summertime pattern where you've got really warm temperatures in the afternoon, again, in this case, topping off in the mid-90s, and all that heating, you naturally get your pop-up thunderstorms in the afternoon, so really hard to pinpoint the location that's going to see the most storm coverage, but again, when you've got a 30% chance, just it's possible you will see something in the afternoon. At this point, you may be saying to yourself, well, there's got to be something interesting that's going on somewhere. Why don't I look at the tropics? Well, when you do that, you'll find nothing. The National Hurricane Center is not expecting any tropical cyclone development over the next 5 days, and I went ahead and attached the latest infrared satellite imagery of the Atlantic Basin at the bottom right. So you can see some disturbed weather across the middle portion of the Atlantic Basin at the edge of the screen. Other than that, you're just looking at a couple showers and storms in the Caribbean and the Gulf, so there's nothing out there. All the activity is in the Eastern Pacific right now. Alright, to summarize everything I just talked about, we've got a marginal risk for severe thunderstorms this afternoon, generally looking at a time frame from about 1 o'clock to 10 o'clock this evening for both north and central Georgia. The main threats are going to be damaging wind, 40 to 60 miles an hour, hail, pea to quarter size, frequent lightning, heavy rain with an isolated flash flooding threat, especially in urban areas. Could see a little bit drier air working its way for Friday, but that will be short-lived. We're going to be continued hot with soupy conditions Saturday through the middle to latter portion of next week. Afternoon thunderstorms are going to be possible each day. The tropics are pretty quiet and look to remain so for the foreseeable future. Thank you for listening to this week's weather briefing. We will be doing this again next Thursday. Feel free to contact us in the meantime. You can do so via phone or internet, social media. We're on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube as well. Always stay tuned to the latest forecast. We'll be updating it here again this afternoon. In the meantime, try not to hate on the heat too much. It's here to stay for a little bit. It is summertime. We'll get through it. Could always be worse, right? But just remember, stay hydrated. If you're outside, wear light and loose-fitting clothes. Try not to stay outside too long if you do have to go outside, and be sure to take care of your pets and your loved ones as well. So again, we'll be back next week. Thanks for tuning in.